So I've been reviewing quite a few books lately. Not all made the cut. I picked out some books I thought I might review, and I decided, there are more fun books to talk about than this. I am excited to talk to you about Wendy Cope's The Orange and Other Poems. The Orange and Other Poems is sort of a career retrospective for Wendy Cope, but also a celebration of her ongoing popularity. Cope was born in the mid-century. She has been an important British poet basically since the 80s. And, every decade or so from the mid-80s, she's published a collection. Her first collection has a very humorous title. It's Making Cocoa for Kingsley Amis, which was published in 1986. And Kingsley Amis was a sort of serious British novelist of the mid-century. And so this idea of titling your first collection, Making Cocoa for Kingsley Amis, there's a little bit of whimsy, but also, you know how to name drop the right people. And Wendy Cope has made a name for herself for writing a particular type of poetry that is literarily knowing and engaged in the tradition, both in the contemporary tradition and in the tradition of the past. She's up with and knows the people who it's important to know, but there's always a little bit of lightheartedness and open-handedness, sometimes a lot of lightheartedness. I want to read to you the title poem in this collection, The Orange. This was written, I think, in the 90s, and it ended up kind of coming around on social media during the pandemic. And actually, this painting was made kind of to celebrate the resurgence of interest in this poem. And then this collection was published as sort of a selected poems of Wendy Cope to ride that wave of popularity. And I think it's pretty cool. So let me read you this poem. It's called The Orange. At lunchtime, I bought a huge orange. The size of it made us all laugh. I peeled it and shared it with Robert and Dave. They got quarters and I had a half. And that orange, it made me so happy, as ordinary things often do just lately. The shopping, a walk in the park. This is peace and contentment. It's new. And the rest of the day was quite easy. I did all the jobs on my list and enjoyed them and had some time over. I love you. I'm glad I exist. You may have seen this poem on social media. This I love you, I'm glad I exist. They make t-shirts with it. It's always weird to see when a poet who is, Wendy Cope is a serious poet. She's not an Instagram star. She's not an actress or musician turned poet. She's been a serious poet since the 80s. And it's funny that you would end up with, Instagram art or t-shirts. But I think that's important. I think it's important that poets can break through the pop culture malaise and write things that are both respectable poetically and also popular. And I realize as I say that, I might sound snobby. And yet even, name dropping someone like Kingsley Amis. Kingsley Amis was writing popular, important fiction, in the same time that someone like John Grisham was writing his early novels. Most people have heard of John Grisham, and they make movies out of John Grisham books. They don't make movies much, I don't think, out of Kingsley Amis novels, and yet Kingsley Amis is a more important literary novelist. So what's my point here? My point here is I like when poetry can be popular and can be loved by people, because I think the best of our literary poetry is lovely and can and should be popular. It's just, fortune favors odd things. And I'm glad that fortune has favored Wendy Cope in the last 5 to 10 years. Why is this poem literarily respectable? It kind of just sounds breezy, doesn't it? At lunchtime, I bought a huge orange. The size of it made us all laugh. That's just conversational English, right? There's nothing poetic about that. Well, at lunchtime, I bought a huge orange. The size of it made us all laugh. I just think about the last two words in each of those lines. Huge orange and all laugh. Huge and orange are both stressed syllables. All and laugh are both stressed syllables. Wendy Cope is writing a loose meter, but is sure to end both of these first two lines of the poem in two stressed syllables or a spondaic foot. So even though she's writing in really colloquial English, she is harnessing metrical structures and creating repeating metrical patterns, not in rhyme. Orange and laugh don't rhyme, though she will give us a rhyme with laugh 2 lines later. They got quarters and I had a half. But huge orange and all laugh, they make us slow down a little bit, linger over those words, even though huge and orange, maybe they kind of sound nice, but will have a j sound to them. Huge and orange are also both words that don't really rhyme with many other words in the English language. Actually, I think there's a lot that you could say about those words. Anyway, that's a little taste of why I take this seriously literarily. There's 4 lines in the first stanza. There's 4 lines in the second stanza. There's 4 lines in the third stanza. So, we have what we would call quatrains. And that orange, it made me so happy, as ordinary things often do. So happy. It's cliche, right? It's a cliche saying. It is, and I think she's intentionally being cliche. It's a tricky thing to do, to be intentionally cliche, as ordinary things often do. Just lately, the shopping, a walk in the park, this peace and contentment, it's new. New is rhyming with do, a pretty easy rhyme. There you go. The rest of the day was quite easy. Quite easy. So happy, quite easy. Ooh, those are the same metrical structures. So now she's giving us matching metrical patterns at the end of the first line of the second stanza and at the end of the first line of the third stanza. Interesting. The rest of the day was quite easy. I did all the jobs on my list and enjoyed them and had some time over. I love you. I'm glad I exist. I think this, I love you. I'm glad I exist. It's the punchline of the poem. I don't know that the poem is funny. Maybe it's a joke in that it's setting us up for common speech that we can take seriously and maybe cliched language that can be made meaningful for us. This I love you is much more direct. There is no you until the final line. There's sort of a turning toward, I think it's really toward the audience. Wendy Cope, the poet, the speaker, might not be Wendy Cope, the actual person, but Wendy Cope, the speaker persona, is turning toward the audience and saying, I love you, or turning toward some imagined beloved and saying, I love you. And if it just said, I love you, I'm glad you exist, I might say, the poem tried to be clever. It worked okay. It's a little ephemeral. But I love you, I'm glad I exist. There's this affirmation of like, yes, I do enjoy my life. And I think that if you read the other poems in this collection, you'll see there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek and a lot of kind of riffing on questions of love and self-doubt. But there's something about the I'm glad I exist that is kind of brave for a poet to say in an age where talking about the despair of the world and the banality of existence and the weariness of trying to keep up this facade of happiness or, consumer satisfaction. This I'm glad I exist. It's this more existential and ontological affirmation of the self. And I even as I say that, I think we can hear, oh, that sounds so self-helpy. Existence is good. Love is what we're looking for. And it's hard to say it directly. And this poem allows us, in as much as we can and should say it directly, to say it directly. And I think that during the pandemic, when people read this, there was just this affirmation of like, oh, I got through my day. I went shopping. Like, remember when going shopping was like a terrifying ordeal? Whatever you think of the medical advice at any time during the pandemic, there was that time when people were afraid to go buy groceries. Maybe the groceries were contaminated. And so I think that's why this poem really resonated with people. It was an affirmation of a common life that was taken away from us just for a little bit, for some for a long time, so for some forever. But for common experience to become a luxury and then this affirmation of existence, I think it's important. And I think it's a reason why Wendy Cope is important. But Wendy Cope wants us also to just laugh. 2 cures for love. 1, don't see him. Don't phone or write a letter. 2, the easy way, get to know him better. It's a 2-line poem. Look at that. It's a 2-line poem. It's a joke about how if you want to get over a guy, you could, not see him, or you could get to know him better and fall out of love because we all get disillusioned with the things we think we want. Ha ha ha. Oh, it hurts a little bit even in its funniness. Wendy Cope is married to another poet. She has some great love sonnets. This isn't quite a love sonnet, but I really like it. It's called Dutch Portraits. To find myself in tears is a surprise. Paintings don't often get to me like this. These faces with their vulnerable eyes and lips so soft that they invite a kiss. The long-haired husband gazing at his bride with evident desire, his hand around her wrist, 6 years before she died. Both so alive and so long underground. And here's a husband who resembles you when you were plump and bearded. It's too much. He looks so happy, and his wife does too, still smiling. Now they can no longer touch. Someone will read our story by and by. Perhaps they'll feel like this. Perhaps they'll cry. I really like this. I said it's not a love poem. It doesn't start out a love poem, but it's looking at this portrait. It seems to be of the artist painting a woman he loved who died, or painting a couple who has real life counterparts. It's not an imagined couple. With evident desire, his hand around her wrist 6 years before she died. So there's this sort of there's a moment of love in time that we know was fading. But there's this sort of I'm crying looking at this. And maybe someone will see our portrait. And I think when she says our portrait, or read our story, I think she's thinking about the sonnet itself. By and by, perhaps they'll feel like this. Perhaps they'll cry. So it's crying over seeing the ephemerality of love, but also the beauty of love in all its temporality. And then realizing, I want to be viewed like that. And I think that's lovely. I want to read one more just to show you why I like this. It's called Evidence. It's from Anecdotal Evidence. And it starts with an epigraph. A great deal of anecdotal evidence suggests that we respond positively to bird song. Scientific Researcher, Daily Telegraph, 8th of February, 2012. Centuries of English verse suggest the self-same thing. A negative response is rare when birds are heard to sing. What's the use of poetry, you ask? Well, here's a start. It's anecdotal evidence about the human heart.